Breaking, grab your coffee and clutch your constitution, because the debate over Canadian unity just got a lot messier, and a whole lot louder. What started as a simple Senate Q/&A has now reignited one of the most explosive political questions this country can ask. Can a province legally leave Canada? And more importantly, who gets to decide? The spark? A fiery exchange in the Red Chamber involving Senator Marc Gold, who represents the government in the Senate. During a session that started out fairly routine, Gold dropped a bombshell that has political analysts, constitutional lawyers, and every amateur political theorist on Twitter scrambling for their copies of the Charter. According to Gold, no province can separate from Canada without federal permission. Let that sink in. Apparently, if Alberta, or any province, wants to part ways with Confederation, it has to first get a formal green light from Ottawa. In other words, you're free to talk about leaving, maybe even print a few Republic of Alberta t-shirts, but actually walking out the door. Not without a federal hall pass. Sound familiar? It should. Because suddenly, Canada is sounding a lot like a constitutional version of the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. The trigger for all this? Senator Paula Simons asked a very specific question. Does the Clarity Act, the same legislation aimed at preventing Quebec from seceding back in the late 90s, also apply to other provinces, like, let's say, hypothetically, Alberta? The answer she got was somehow both blunt and evasive. Yes, Gold said, the act applies universally. But when Simons followed up, asking what a legal path to separation would actually look like, Gold punted the question like a political football into the void. No details, no framework, just a vague acknowledgement that it's complicated. That's putting it mildly. Let's rewind a bit. The Clarity Act, passed in 2000, was created after Quebec's 1995 referendum, which came within a breath of independence, a yes side that lost by fewer than 55,000 votes. The law gives the House of Commons the power to judge whether any referendum on separation has asked a clear enough question, and whether the margin of support is wide enough to be taken seriously. Which means, in practice, Ottawa can essentially say, nice try, but we didn't like the wording. And here's where it gets even more combustible. Alberta's Citizen Initiative Act has recently been amended to make triggering a referendum way easier. The signature threshold has dropped dramatically, from over 500,000 names to just around 177,000. That's barely more than the population of Red Deer. It's like changing the rules of a board game mid-match, and suddenly everyone's realizing they might actually win. Enter the Alberta Prosperity Project. They've already got their referendum question drafted, and it doesn't dance around the issue. No poetic language about economic realignment or enhanced autonomy. Just a blunt question: should Alberta become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada? It's political dynamite, and no one in Ottawa seems to have the fire extinguisher. Gold's assertion that Parliament gets the final say has thrown fuel on the fire. Because the question now isn't just whether a province can separate, it's whether voters in that province even have the right to decide. If a majority of Albertans vote yes on independence, and the federal government says no, what happens next? Do we send in federal lawyers? / transfer payments? Pretend it didn't happen? That's where the constitutional fog rolls in. The 1998 Supreme Court reference on Quebec stated that unilateral secession isn't legal. But it also said that a clear mandate from a province's population would trigger a duty to negotiate. It was the court's way of saying, you can't leave on your own, but if you're serious, we'll talk. That was Quebec. Alberta, however, doesn't have its own civil code or distinct language. Its argument is mostly economic: pipelines, taxation, federal interference. And because of that, the legal terrain is murkier. There's no legal roadmap, just a big, we'll cross the bridge if we ever get there sign hovering over a constitutional canyon. And here's the kicker: Senator Gold, a former law professor, offered no roadmap at all, no procedure. No process. Just a flat refusal to explain how Parliament would handle a province that says, we're done. If Canada is a partnership, voluntary and built on mutual respect, shouldn't the provinces have an exit clause? And if they don't, is it really a partnership, or something closer to a political contract with no escape clause? And that's the real debate brewing under all this. This isn't just about Alberta. It's about what kind of country Canada really is. A voluntary federation of equals, or a rigid structure where Ottawa holds the master key? Because if the answer is that referendums only count when Ottawa approves the question and the result, that's not democracy. That's gatekeeping. And on the flip side, if provinces can walk away the moment they feel sidelined, what happens to shared responsibility? National unity. The idea of a Canada that's more than just a collection of provinces. We're heading into uncharted waters. And the Senate just confirmed what many feared. There is no clear answer, just vague references, political posturing, and a legal gray zone the size of Saskatchewan. So buckle up, Canada. The next few years might not just reshape our politics, they could redefine the country itself. Thanks for tuning in. For more breakdowns of Canada's most complex political puzzles, keep it right here, Maple Flash.